FOUR PAWS have received information about bears being held in appalling conditions in Kosovo. Project leader Carsten Hertwig and Jette Lepaya have been sent to see if the condition of the bears warrants a rescue mission.
Also in aller Regel kommen sie aus der freien Wildbahn, werden als Bärenweise oder zumindest eben als Baby aus der Wildnis herausgeholt. Die Schicksale sind unterschiedlich. Teilweise eben ist die Mutter erschossen worden oder beim Verkehrsunfall ums Leben gekommen. Teilweise werden sie einfach auch der Mutter weggenommen.
Kosovo is still reeling from the effects of the Kosovo War at the end of last century. The war brought widespread destruction, claiming more than 10,000 lives. But the toll of war and its aftermath isn't just measured in human lives. Animals are usually the first to suffer. Brown bear populations in Europe have been decimated by war, hunting, and habitat loss. It's estimated there are 3,000 bears left in the Balkans. However, the illegal trade of animal parts means their future is uncertain. The bear Carsten is going to see has been used to attract people to dine at this restaurant. It's a common practice in this region.
Ja, Cassandra, Bärenweibchen, wir tippen so etwa 8 Jahre alt. Dürfte, seit sie Bärenweis und Bärenbaby ist, hier sein. Also sie hat eigentlich so den absolut schlechtesten Zustand.
Cassandra is a Eurasian brown bear. The very fact that she's awake suggests she's under a lot of stress. If she were in the wild, she would have gone into hibernation a month ago, and she wouldn't wake up for another 4. But the horrific conditions she's being kept in have totally upset her normal patterns of behavior.
Ja, das ist natürlich völlig inakzeptabel für eine Braunbärenhaltung. Das sind 2x3 Meter Käfig, mitten der Witterung ausgesetzt. Das heißt im Sommer viel Sonne, kaum Regen, im Winter jetzt eben die Kälte, der Wind.
Sadly, Cassandra is not the only brown bear in Kosovo suffering a miserable existence. Around 40 kilometers away lies the small town of Prizren. Carsten's been tipped off that there are 2 bears being kept here in very poor conditions. Again, there's a restaurant involved, but this time there's a small zoo attached. The bears are in a large cage, but it's nowhere near big enough for animals of their size.
Also die Bären leben hier katastrophal, nur Betonuntergrund, kein Wasser, kaum Schatten und unglaublich gestresst. Und vor allem deswegen, weil unter ihnen sind kleine Zwinger mit Wölfen und Hunden und die machen einen unglaublichen Lärm. Also jedes Mal, wenn ich hier war, haben die Hunde einen unglaublichen Lärm gemacht und die Bären waren unglaublich gestresst.
These 2 are called Ari and Arina. And like Cassandra, they've been caught by animal traders when they were young and sold to the restaurant owner. To stem the bear trade in Kosovo and step into line with other countries, a law was passed in 2010, making it illegal to keep bears privately. But with nowhere to place confiscated animals, it hasn't been properly enforced.
Papiermäßig ist alles auf EU-Standard, mehr oder weniger. Implementierung ist ein anderes Problem und das ist, was wir jetzt versuchen, auch hinzukriegen.
Returning the bears to the wild is sadly not an option. Being too used to people, they would be easy prey for animal traders. So the Kosovan Ministry of Environment have come up with a solution involving FOUR PAWS.
Wir haben von der Stadt Pristina jetzt eine Fläche zur Verfügung gestellt bekommen von 15 Hektar. Wir werden im Zuge der nächsten Jahre große Sektoren bauen, mindestens 3.000, besser 5.000 Quadratmeter pro Bär.
Good news and also bad, because Cassandra, Ari and Arina will have to stay where they are until at least some of the sanctuary is built. The big worry is how long Cassandra can survive in her present state. For each of the last 3 years, FOUR PAWS veterinarian Ovidiu Rosu has spent 6 months looking after wild horses in northeastern Romania. Someone fitted a rope halter to this horse when it was a foal in an effort to tame it. Now it needs to be removed, because as a horse grows larger, the halter can bite into the flesh and cause serious injury. It's one of approximately 500 wild horses living in the Danube Delta, the last wild horses to be found in Europe. These animals can be traced back to the 13th century, when the Tartars of Mongolia invaded this region, bringing their horses with them. Over the centuries, they were farmed for meat and used as working horses. Some also became wild, establishing a population here in the Letia forest, which lies in the northeastern part of Romania's Danube Delta. The Danube is Europe's second longest river, and over the last 6,000 years, sediment has been building up at its mouth to form the Danube Delta, Europe's second largest wetland area. Declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site and Romania's oldest natural reserve, it's rich in bird and marine life and hosts some rare species of plants. When horse farming ceased in 1989, many of the horses were freed, and the wild population grew to 1,500 by 2010. Environmentalists were concerned the growing number of horses would impact on the delicate natural balance of the ecosystem, so Romanian authorities decided to take action.
The horses were the scapegoats for ruining this highly protected forest. And the authorities thought that the easiest solution would be to cull, to shoot these horses.
FOUR PAWS vigorously opposed the idea of culling and proposed an alternative, a birth control vaccine which, over time, would reverse the population growth without harming any animals.
This vaccine goes to the egg, makes it some sort of a shield, like a cover, so that the sperm will not enter through it. It doesn't affect the behavior of the animals, it doesn't affect any social status of the animal inside the group.
The first dose of the vaccine needs to be given orally, which means Ovidiu has to tranquilize the animal. No easy task with these fast and flighty creatures free to roam the almost 3,000 hectares of reserve. The vaccine works on the egg, so is only given to the mares.
First of all, we have to identify which is female.
Each herd of wild horses typically has a lead stallion and a lead mare, whose roles are to protect the group. The lead mare travels at the front, and the stallion pushes from behind.
Oh, perfect shot.
It's a quite powerful dosage, otherwise we cannot have them fast tranquilized.
A quick tranquilization is important because of the risk posed by the lead stallion. As the mare begins to react to the anesthesia, he can become concerned about her behavior and try to keep her moving.
If they take too long to sleep, the mares might be kicked by the males.
Sometimes it's near impossible to get the horses to lie down.
They have this passive stability system that actually allows them to somehow sleep while standing, so that's why it takes a little bit of time.
This mare has remained standing for too long. Ovidiu has no choice but to administer a second dose of anesthesia.
How many minutes has it been?
Quite
7?
a lot.
Okay.
No, more than
More, okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's a strong one, huh?
Coming up, has Ovidiu's second dart brought the mare down in time? And the first wave of bear rescues in Kosovo sweeps into play. FOUR PAWS has come to Kosovo to rescue up to 15 bears being held captive in atrocious conditions. Karsten has rescued the first 3, Cassandra, Ari and Irina. But the rescue was delayed until stage 1 of the new bear sanctuary in Kosovo is finished. It's now ready, so the first rescue can happen. They start with the bear in most urgent need, Cassandra.
Me presione muni me mor. Ariun me chef nunca eu. Juren une nuk. Jo nie probleme. Hoeveel nog kost een regel betom? Sa une betom. Ik hoor niet hoger dan een.
But Cassandra's owner can't understand why she's being taken and fails to see what's wrong with her current condition. To ensure there's no trouble, the team are backed up by police and the Kosovo force, the NATO-backed peacekeepers. In order to safely transport Cassandra to the sanctuary, the team must first tranquilize her. The metal crook keeps Cassandra's head down. She may be weak and malnourished, but she's still considerably bigger and stronger than her would-be saviors. Safely inside a purpose-built travel crate, it takes 6 strong men to move her to the waiting vehicle. Cassandra has the honor of being the first resident of the new Pristina Bear Sanctuary. She'll stay in this interior treatment cage while work continues on her outside enclosure. This will enable her to regain her health and adjust to her new surroundings. Now the Four Paws team move on to the zoo in Shquiponia to rescue Ari and Irina. Again, the Four Paws team come with police and military support, but this time the media have been alerted by the bear's owners. It appears they're not happy about losing the prime attraction at their restaurant/zoo.
Sie sind überhaupt nicht einsichtig. Also sie haben auch vor laufender Kamera immer wieder betont, dass die Haltung super und toll ist und so weiter. Also sie sind überhaupt nicht einsichtig.
Wir können nur einfach sehen auf den Bären, obwohl sind wir überall. Auch in Europa müssen die Eisen da sein. Nur einfach können wir gucken, die Bären, und sehen wir ganz genau, dass sie leben sehr wohl.
The bear's owners have called in friends and associates in an effort to intimidate the Four Paws team. Worried the situation could get out of hand, the team decide they need to act now. They tranquilize both of the bears at the same time. Once they're sedated, they have to get them into transport crates before the drug wears off. While the sedation is going smoothly, other elements are conspiring to make this a challenging rescue. The owners have stopped the Four Paws vehicles from entering the property.
Das ist für uns natürlich eine Herausforderung mehr, weil wir auch überhaupt nicht logistisch mit dem Inhaber der Bären kooperieren können. Er ist nicht stur, wir müssen lange Wege jetzt mit den Transportboxen nachher gehen, weil wir nicht auf den Hof fahren können, lauter solche Sachen.
It doesn't help that the cages are up so high. They must gently lower several hundred kilos of brown bear down to ground level, into the transport crates, and then the long haul out to the waiting vehicle. It all goes according to plan. The Four Paws team are elated at having completed 2 successful bear rescues.
Es ist ein großer Schritt für den Tierschutz im Kosovo, der heute gerade passiert ist. Und der Weg ist beschritten und wir gehen diesen Weg entlang. Wir werden alle Bären hier im Kosovo, die jetzt privat gehalten werden, rauskriegen aus den Käfigen. Wir werden in eine neue Zukunft gehen können.
But their joy is short-lived with the news that 2 other restaurant bears intended for rescue have been killed. Faced with his bears being confiscated, the owner sold them to an animal dealer for 500 euros. The police found their dead bodies dumped amongst garbage, their organs harvested for the lucrative Asian market.
Das macht jetzt die Situation so dringend und wir wollen eben jetzt komplett alle Bären, die noch in Restaurants hier im Kosovo dahin vegetieren, jetzt retten.
With 2 dead, can they rescue the remaining bears in time? On the Danube Delta in Romania, veterinarian Ovidiu Rosu and project leader Robert Hengel are carrying out a population control program on the last herd of wild horses to be found in Europe. a contraceptive vaccine must be given to each mare. But for that to happen, they have to be sedated. Ovidiu has already shot one tranquilizer at this mare. She's unsteady on her feet, but refuses to go down. There's a risk the stallion may start kicking her to get her moving. So Ovidiu fires a second tranquilizer.
Just doesn't want to go down.
Yeah, it's quite often this happens.
Finally, after nearly 30 minutes. While the mare is sedated, Ovidiu and Robert need to record her statistics and perform health checks. But they're being closely watched.
That's a real man, a real stallion.
It's common for wild horses to have one partner they spend the most time with.
Careful, careful.
Yeah, I'm here.
Estimates based on aerial surveys put the number of remaining horses at approximately 500. In the past 3 years, Ovidiu has treated about half of them.
Our aim is not to actually kill the population down, is to manage it responsibly.
This population control program by FOUR PAWS was sparked by the so-called Letia massacre scandal in 2011.
The locals were basically rounding up loads of horses to sell them to the slaughterhouse.
Following claims that the wild horse population was growing too fast and destroying the environment, Romanian authorities gave landowners in the village of Letia permission to round up some of the wild horses. More than 70 horses were corralled together into several small pens.
These beautiful, wild, free-living horses were crowded up with no food and no water.
Belonging to different herds, the horses fought each other, leading to severe injuries. After a week in the pens, the horses were sent to be slaughtered.
They rounded up the horses into a double-decker slaughterhouse truck, and they pushed in too many horses.
A couple of them, they were dead already, squashed together and, kicked by the other animals.
Fortunately, FOUR PAWS prevented the truck reaching its destination.
Only after 30 hours, our team was able to stop this transport. And overnight, we became owners of more than 50 horses.
The horses were brought to a farm where they received food, water, and medical care.
We managed in the end to save about 45 horses in total. And after 3 months of quarantine and treatments, we were able to bring them back in Leta.
Some of those horses are still alive and being monitored by Ovidiu and Robert.
Wow, look at that.
Next, Robert has to perform a task he's not at all happy about.
Oh boy. Oh man.
And in Kosovo, there's the final big push to rescue all of the remaining restaurant bears. The news that 2 of the Kosovo bears have been sold and slaughtered for their body parts has put pressure on the FOUR PAWS team to rescue the remaining 8 bears. They decide to rescue all 8 within 24 hours. At the restaurant in western Kosovo, the team find 2 bears, Arusha and Balusha. The smaller Balusha is in a terrible state.
Das sind 2 Männchen, die gehören immer zusammengesperrt. Dem einen fehlt ein Auge, das ist ausgekratzt. Das zweite Auge ist auch blind, vermutlich auch eine Verletzung, eine Infektion. Die Zähne sind von dem einen Bären sehr kaputt und er hat sehr viele Narben, vermutlich von Kämpfen.
Bears are mostly solitary creatures in the wild, so it's little wonder they clash when they're forced to share a cramped space. The rescue goes smoothly. As soon as they're sedated, the veterinary team start giving Balusha the medical care she so desperately needs. The next restaurant bear is 20 kilometers away, a 15-month-old female bought from hunters.
Da haben wir 3 Leute herangefahren, also die wissen ja, dass ich viele Tiere hier habe und fragten mich, ob ich einen Bär haben will. Die haben ihn anscheinend irgendwo gefangen, hier in unserer Wälder, mit ihren Jagdhunden. Und habe ja gesagt, ja, warum nicht?
Then he discovered laws were being introduced to make it illegal for bears to be kept in private zoos.
Ich hatte vorher, also es nicht auf so kleine Käfig zu lassen, also schon einen größeren Park zu machen hier. Aber da ich mitbekommen habe, dass es nicht mehr geht, dann habe ich halt diese Investition weggelassen.
Being seen as a bad investment has meant she hasn't been properly cared for.
Er ist unterentwickelt, er ist sehr ausgetrocknet. Wir haben ihm jetzt einen Tropf gegeben. Die Zähne sind sehr schlecht. Muss man schauen. Aber die Narkose lief erstmal soweit ganz gut. Er liegt stabil, dass wir ihn jetzt verladen können.
That's 2 rescues completed safely. The last one promises to be the most difficult of all. 5 fully grown bears, all held in one enclosure.
Also wir können die nicht separieren. Ja, es gibt keine richtige Absperrmöglichkeit jeweils. Das ist einfach nicht möglich hier. Und von dem her bleibt uns aus Sicherheitsgründen überhaupt nichts anderes übrig, als 5 Bären gleichzeitig zu narkotisieren. Das ist natürlich auch wirklich für das Ärzteteam eine Herausforderung.
If the bears become agitated, it'll be difficult to dart them, so the vets keep noise and activity to a minimum. There are 5 vets, 1 for each bear, to ensure the operation runs safely and quickly. Initial medical checks would normally be carried out inside the enclosure, but not today. It's too dangerous, because with so many bears, there's a chance one of them might wake up. Checks outside the cage reveal they're carrying numerous injuries, probably caused by fighting.
Ja, das ist eben eine Bisswunde, die wir jetzt auch noch extern behandeln, um die antibakteriell zu reinigen.
Weighing more than 200 kilos, the bears are difficult to move into the crates. Eventually, the team load the last captive bear in Kosovo into the van. The most difficult phase of the rescue mission is over. Now it's just a matter of giving them time to settle in at the sanctuary. After years of living in confined conditions, it can be a big shock to be suddenly surrounded by large areas of open space. For that reason, they're first released into smaller enclosures. It's a special moment for the rescue team.
Hierher zu bringen und ihnen jetzt dieses Gehege jetzt sozusagen zu übergeben und ihnen die Zukunft hier zu ermöglichen, das ist einfach ein wunderschönes Gefühl.
"700 kilometers away in the Danube Delta, Robert is having a not-so-wonderful moment with a sedated mare. She's been given the contraceptive vaccine, but the medical check requires they obtain a fecal sample.
Usually there's some reaction that some feces comes out, but in this case none came out, so I'll have to put my hand in the anus, and but obviously I will put some paraffin so it goes in easily, and then I can get out some feces. So it's very exciting. Okay, here goes. Oh boy.
I'm sure we can do it, Robert.
And I just go in with my whole hand if there's nothing.
Yeah, just maybe we can take this.
Okay.
Robert isn't a trained vet. He's a desk jockey and administrator with 4 Paws, so he's really entering uncharted territory here.
Oh boy. Oh man, this is... I never studied
For this.
for this. I didn't do veterinary. Is this enough?
No, you go more.
You serious?
Yeah, go.
Go more?
Yeah,
I had my whole hand in
Let
there.
me show you something really interesting.
Yeah?
Open your hand. Oh, you lost it. You just had a really big worm. Oh, look at it.
I had a worm?
This is a whipworm.
That's horrible.
And what?
And
It is not going to attack you. If you are disgusted, I will do it.
No, I'm not disgusted. I
No,
just
no.
don't want to go in all the way.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but I've got my watch and everything, man. I
Take
can't.
it off.
Oh my God. Take it off. Okay. Oh boy. Oh man. I feel kind of weird doing this.
I ask you to take care of this.
Oh man. Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay, this is how you do it properly.
Actually, she already defecated.
Yeah, not very. There's nothing in there.
But nevertheless, quite a lot of worms. Yeah. Yeah, but it's enough. This is enough.
This is also the perfect opportunity to get a blood sample from the horse.
This is to do studies on the reproductive level of the animal. So actually, if she is pregnant in this moment or if she is not. To be able to do this thing, we have to take the serum out of the blood.
That requires specialist equipment, which Ovidiu carries in his vehicle. The centrifuge will spin the test tube at high speed, separating out the blood serum, which can then be sent to the lab for testing.
Okay, we will send it to Vienna to be tested for the levels of progesterone and estrogen. Those are the main hormones from which you can know if the animal is pregnant or not.
The sedative has worn off. The whole tranquilizing process and checkup has taken just over 90 minutes. And the mare is none the wiser about the indignity of having both Robert and Ovidiu probe her for a fecal sample. Next, the Pristina sanctuary bears have a date with the dentist. The Pristina Bear Sanctuary in Kosovo has now been operating for 2 years, providing a home for brown bears rescued from cruel, inhumane conditions. Open to the public, visitors can experience the bears in an environment close to their natural habitat. And they're starting to behave like bears living in the wild.
Even though we prepared the dens for them, they had their own. They dig their own dens and they hibernated. And they hibernated for 3 months.
The 13 restaurant bears that were first rescued are clearly much happier in the sanctuary. But many still suffer long-lasting effects from their previous lives and need to receive ongoing medical and dental treatment.
I'm a human dentist, but in my free time I do some bigger patients.
Dr. Luce and his wife Sabine are volunteers who make several trips a year to treat bears at a number of sanctuaries across Europe. Leading the medical team is wildlife veterinarian Johanna Painer.
We don't work together that often, but like 3 times a year about for a long weekend. Yeah, we have bear holiday together.
Treatments range from basic fillings to root canals and extractions. And how does a 300-kilogram brown bear feel about a dental appointment?
I think it's sometimes a bit frustrating for a wildlife veterinarian when you try to do your best to keep your patients healthy, but every time you dart them, of course, they hate you.
The first patient today is 16-year-old Ero. He was the largest of the 5 bears rescued from the final restaurant.
He weighs about 300 kilograms. He's by far the biggest of all.
Johanna prepares for the anesthesia based upon estimated measurements.
For wildlife anesthesia, it's always a bit challenging to prepare it out because many things can go wrong, of course. We don't have a pre-anesthetic health check on the bear, so we cannot go there and see and check the blood values before we dart them. Then, of course, you can hit it at the wrong place. You aim for the big muscles in the shoulder, but what if he moves in like the second where you dart? Then you dart it into the lung, and that could be deathly.
The anesthesia should take around 10 minutes to work. But Johanna wants to be absolutely certain Ero's fully unconscious before allowing anyone to enter the cage.
How many kilograms you say?
3.
I say 340.
Okay, with the 325.
It's important Johanna gets an accurate weight. That way she knows how much of each drug is needed.
How much?
Means 325.
Sauber?
Ero's legs are tied down to stop them flopping around during the procedure. If he were to wake, however, the ropes would do little to restrain him.
Ich schon losmachen, wenn ihr wollt?
So we have a cavity in the tooth because of a broken tip. And here the same, the canine tooth severely broken and with a cavity here.
Broken teeth are common amongst captive bears. They bite on the bars of their enclosures, and under the load of their extremely powerful jaws, something has to give.
So now I give here some local anesthesia, and then we will perform a root canal treatment. The tooth has to be treated because the pulper is chronically infected. Now this causes maybe pain and osteolysis. That means that the bone starts to be destroyed.
Really big tooth, huh?
Huge. While the root canal procedure is similar to that performed on a human, working on bears can create some tricky problems.
Haben wir da noch längeres? Kann sein, dass wir länger brauchen.
Das ist das Einzige, was wir haben. Wir haben das natürlich.
The difficulty is that the tooth is so extremely long.
So now he's already in anesthesia for more than 1 hour. So we top up the anesthesia every so now and then, according to all these parameters.
While Dr. Loos works, Johanna and Julia give Ero a full health check. Hair samples are taken to measure cortisone levels, which gives an indication of how much stress the bears endure. They'll be compared to samples taken when they were first rescued to find out how well the bears are rehabilitating in the sanctuary.
The blood gases are all fine, like even after now he's almost 3 hours down. He has perfect values. Perfect, it's really nice.
Okay, smooth and perfect. Good.
With the root canal finished, Johanna can bring Ero back around.
I'm drawing up the antidote so he can wake up faster, but I only give it when we are in.
The procedure has been a success. Any cavities and decay have been fixed, and the tests show Ero is in good health.
Super, very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to you. Special thanks.
Around half an hour later, a slightly groggy Ero returns to his outside enclosure. Coming up, 3 very young additions to the Pristina Bear Sanctuary. And 4 Paws working to win over the locals in the Danube Delta. Winter on the Danube Delta sees temperatures plummet to minus 20 degrees Celsius and even lower. The wild horses eat tree bark, roots, and whatever they can find. But it's hard going, and a significant number don't survive the winter. In the winter of 2010 and 2011, before the 4 Paws program began, locals say 50% of the herd died. Now 4 Paws provide food to help the horses through the winter. No matter what the weather is like, Ovidiu has the unenviable job of distributing the hay. He's also tasked with rebuilding a good relationship with the locals. The 4 Paws intervention in 2011, which prevented the slaughter of 55 wild horses, came at a cost.
Everybody was blaming the locals for being very, very brutal with those animals, and when we returned back with them, we didn't have them on our sides. They were very, very, how to put, not violent in itself, but very against us, you know. They were really,
They were
like,
aggressive
they were,
towards us.
they were aggressive towards us.
It's taken some time for Ovidiu and his team to earn back the trust of the locals. One of the ways they've done it is by offering veterinary services, treating their livestock and pets.
He was run over by a car and his spine was injured, and that's why he cannot run anymore, but they didn't want to leave him because he's a very good dog. And now we are trying now to put him on a wheelchair.
Hi, Rick.
In the beginning, people were reluctant. They didn't know exactly what we are doing. The concept of animal welfare was quite strange towards them. But now I think they understood that what we are doing. Let's see if he goes.
He has to practice, but n-am vrut să renunț la el, nu. Că toată lumea spune, domnule, omorâți-l. Cum să-l omor dacă el mi-a slujit casa? 7 ani mi-a slujit.
Very nice story because...
Cum să renunț la el?
Another reason the locals have warmed to the presence of FOUR PAWS is the financial spin-off of having a protected herd of wild horses in a spectacular setting.
In the last 4 years, there was a very big development from the touristic point of view. So actually, now the locals gain a lot of money because people came to see the forest and the horses.
With more and more locals starting to see the benefits arising from the work Ovidiu and his team are doing on the Danube Delta, certainty is given to the future of these wonderful animals, Europe's last wild horses. It's 2 years since the Kosovo restaurant bears were rescued and moved to the Pristina sanctuary, and they're thriving.
90% bears are vegetarian, so they eat fruit and vegetable.
Everything
and 10%.
that they can find in nature.
With these small holes, we usually use small pieces of food that contains a lot of protein, like dog pellets and sunflower seeds. And our bears really like it a lot.
With lunch served, the treasure hunt can begin. Doing it this way keeps the bears stimulated and encourages them to use their natural instinct for foraging. Since those first 11 restaurant bears came here, there have been another 5 bears rescued.
In this enclosure here, we have 3 little cubs that we rescued last year. When we rescued them, they were only 2 months old, and they were quite weak, actually.
Kosovan authorities became aware of them after a family posted photos on Facebook of the tiny 3-week-old Emma living in their flat. A few days later, her brothers Ron and Oscar were found nearby. All 3 were undernourished and stressed. Normally, wild bear cubs spend at least 2 years with their mother, so they needed round-the-clock care. 5 months later, with the cubs in good health, the Pristina team tried something they'd never done before. With the cubs still being young, there was a chance they could survive in the wild.
Today we're moving them to Shari National Park because we've built a large enclosure for them away from people so that they can spend the next year or so getting used to being in their natural environment.
They were left alone to forage for their own food, with frequent checks to see how they were getting on. Unfortunately, the project ended after 2 months, following several encounters with people traveling in the national park. The cubs weren't wary enough around humans, and that would pose problems as they grew older and were released. Today they share an enclosure at the sanctuary and will eventually be moved to a new, larger enclosure. Oscar is next in line for a checkup with the vets and dentist.
Here is a milk dentition. Maybe the tooth would fall out When you close the mouth, please, dear patient. No, I don't think that will fall out.
No.
Yes, we have to take it out. One baby tooth we have to extract here. The time of changing of the teeth is over for him. And the baby tooth would stay there and would harm him.
So, wie gehst du da jetzt ran? Aber das ist extrem hohl innen, glaube ich. Nur, dass du Bescheid weißt wegen Frakturen. So.
Ja, das weiß ich.
So he extracted the remaining milk tooth.
Here, this is destroyed from the permanent tooth. Now we clean the wound a little bit, you see.
Keeping a close eye on proceedings is Mustafa, who has a special relationship with Oscar.
After they got confiscated, Mustafa was there day and night for many months. And the reason why they are alive is because Mustafa was working day and night. He's kind of Papa Bear. Good, so everything went well. He became a really proper bear. He's still very small, but compared to last year, it's of course really nice to see him.
But there's one more thing to do before Oscar is taken back to the enclosure.
We should make a picture with Mustafa and Oscar. Come, Mustafa, go with Oscar. You and Oscar, your baby. Yeah.
It's only through the work and love of Pristina staff like Mustafa, the skills and dedication of the medical and dental teams, and the support of FOUR PAWS that bears like Cassandra, Ero and Oscar are able to live out their days with a good quality of life. And more importantly, all of that effort is helping change the way the people of Kosovo view an animal that for so long was simply a sideshow attraction.